Hello, beautiful people. Samantha and Maria here.
Hey, hey.
We felt drawn to do a little update from the month of April. I know today's the 4th, but until May 15th. So what we're going to do is we're just going to connect with our guide, source, and the energies from that time frame and to see what is kind of happening in the world, what's going on, and if there's any tips for anybody. The words that came forth when we were both first connecting were gathering, collaboration, solicitation, assumptions, forgiveness, and expansion. And where my mind goes, they all are already one, but we're just gonna go in. So here we go. So we just call in the energies just around the collective, giving us wisdom on all dimensions of what needs to come forth until May 15th, 2023. So when I hear the word, I just keep hearing gathering, gathering, gathering. And it's not like gathering for the holidays and that type of gathering, but more so I'm seeing people literally coming together from all walks of life, but it's not necessarily in the same place. It's as though you're building networks and relationships with people all over the place, like all over the map, because you're learning that the people that maybe you haven't been in relationships with, it's just you're not aligned anymore. And I am seeing the universe literally starting to be like, all right, like bringing us together to knowing that we're not in this alone. I'm seeing like people picking up like bundles of things and moving and literally doing gathering. Like, and if you think of the word gathering, it's finding fruits, finding a place to live. It's bringing all resources together for the better of the community. And no matter how much work we do on ourselves, we still need people to help us. And I'm feeling that the universe is starting to, I'm seeing like a leaf flip over, like we're starting to bring all of those that are ready, your people, to support you. And because I'm seeing that 2025, it's going to be massive, massive shifts. And so these are like our people, and they're starting to come together now. And with gathering, it's also learning to gather things in your space that you need, not just want or good shiny little things to look at, but like, what do I really need? And to get clear on it, and to get clear on what do I need in order to bring more fruition and happiness. So it's also you gathering different tools so you can share these tools with the people that are coming, that are in your tribe. And they're saying this is very, very important, particularly moving into quote unquote fire time, so the summer. Now I know you got collaboration.
I did, but I'm getting, as you're talking, it's like they're tapping me into assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so collaboration in the sense of also gathering, like kind of synonymous, but in order to collaborate and to gather, we have to release assumptions of people, and assumptions come from past experiences. So as we gather these new tools, gather these new relationships, we have to release those attachments to assumptions of people and how they're supposed to show up in our life, how we're supposed to show up, assumptions of how things are meant to play out. It's like another word for expectations, because that will stunt the collaboration, the gathering, if we are assuming things before something plays out.
Beautiful.
Getting wicked hot.
Yeah, I'm feeling all vibrations. And also with assumptions, when it comes to gathering and collaborating, it's not looking at the person face value. It's not like, what do they have to offer me? Like, what can I take from them? It's more of feeling their energy and like and it's funny, they're bringing in the voice, the show the voice, like blind auditions. You don't see what the person looks like, but you
Yes.
feel them.
Yes.
Oh, full body chills.
Yes.
And that is what we're being called to really align with, like feeling the energy of someone else. Because otherwise we're reading their traumas, we're reading their fear. And if we're coming forth in a gathering of people with fear around having people see us, then they're going to feel that fear. So we're just going to be battling assumptions against each other. And so it's like maybe just closing your eyes when you meet somebody, even though it's kind of weird, but like it's almost like getting used to being uncomfortable, to let that be the new comfortable, because I'm seeing that people are going to be coming that you wouldn't normally talk to. So to not assume that they are one way or the other, but that they have something to share with you, just like you have something to share with them, that can be like explosive and expansive and beautiful, just like music and different colors, and I'm hearing like the ocean and the wind and just like harmony. So we're being called to step into harmony, but it's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
So releasing the assumption of time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectation that things can happen like this. No, that's not how evolution works.
There's also beyond just what people look like, because we can make judgments based off of appearance. It's also, as we get to network more and meet more people, sometimes the assumptions become even louder as we hear people's background and their stories and their experiences. We are automatically starting to make assumptions about them, knowing what they have been through, their trauma, which also re-triggers our own traumas. And again, causing a stunting of a deep connection. So that energy of forgiveness, which I know you pulled in, it's like it's coming in really strong right now. In order to release assumptions, we have to forgive things that have happened in the past. We have to forgive past relationships that have maybe initially felt aligned, and then something happened. There was a disconnect along the way that could put fear into us about connecting with people again of like mind and like soul. We have to release all of that. And the only way to do that is to forgive self, forgive persons that we felt did us wrong, and forgive those situations, knowing that they served a role and a purpose, but that if they are no longer aligned with our highest and best, they are going to diminish. They are going to go away in a sense. And so that is only to make room for more aligned, higher connections. So in order to release assumptions and expectations, we must forgive things from the past.
Boom. That just like made all of my chakras vibrate. So as I was feeling what you were saying in my body, I was wondering what chakras are going to be quote unquote triggered or activated. And it's really all of them, but I'm hearing that the crown chakra is going to be very, very intense in order to release attachments and judgment and any lack within our solar, heart, and throat chakras. Those three chakras are very, they're saying, Spirit saying it's intermingled right now. There's a lot of things being activated in them in order to bring in the right gathering. And that comes into the forgiveness piece. But in order to allow yourself to fully forgive, you need to realize that there is a beautiful source that lives within us. And we're taught that it's outside of ourselves, but it lives within us. And to really, when we're learning to gather our needs, it's to also reconnect with that deep divine source, that spirit within us, which is that frequency of love. And they're showing me like literally lightning bolts coming in, particularly on the left side of people's heads in their crown chakra, because our crown and third eye have been really been triggered, like not triggered, attacked, thank you, to shut down. And I'm literally seeing these like sparks coming into people's heads. So maybe you might get headaches, dizziness, more fatigue, or random like bursts of like thoughts, or your ego's gonna get really, really loud. Or maybe you're more creative because the crown chakra is also hitting the right side of the head, but I'm seeing it go into a lot of people on the left side, right into our analytical reptilian brain. Because Because if we're living in that side of the brain, it's very hard for us to gather together, to build those heart-centered relationships, because it's the left side of our brain that does cause assumptions and judges and reacts rather than pause. And they're saying to imagine, and when you're feeling stressed or you have a headache or tension, and I'm getting a lot of tension behind my eyes and the front of my head, to imagine just beautiful beams of purple light, or even like a crystal white coming into wherever those thoughts are or where you have any tension, and just allow it to sit there and like almost like alchemize it, like poof, like it was just a thought. Because I feel like thoughts are going to get very, very, very loud with the majority of people.
Also, as you were talking and saying the word again, like gathering and collaboration, the other word coming in very strong, which is like another synonym, is community. And they're literally breaking the word apart for me, and they're circling, look at what is at the end of community. It's unity. And unity actually means coming together from all walks of life, coming together from all consciousnesses, all backgrounds, all understandings, all realities, and forging a connection. So it doesn't mean that you form community with people that just think like you and act like you. That is literally the paradigm we are trying to break out of. So to understand community from a different perspective, that community means coming together, creating unity through our uniqueness. We have to be unique to actually understand the energy of unity. Unified does not mean we are all the same. It means we are all connected, but we are all still unique souls from one single source.
I love that.
So tying in again with releasing assumptions, because if we have assumptions of people, that is a form of judgment, which is actually going to break the unity. It is going to break the community. You cannot come together if we have judgments and assumptions of things outside of us.
And the other word too that came forth, which I feel like is coming in again strong, is the word solicitation, and not the way that we know it as, where it's like no soliciting, no like violations, whatever. But it's more so of, it's okay to, in a sense, solicit something that is heartfelt, because you're not doing anything malicious. You're not trying to hurt. You're not breaking in anywhere. It's like, because now they're breaking up the word solicitation, like solace. I'm seeing the word solace in it. And it's more so of merging together these broken concepts that have distorted our way of thinking, that have kept us separate. And that sharing what you know, sharing from your heart is very important. And that also to not judge someone if they're being kind to you. Like they're not, they're coming in strongly saying kindness is so important to share. We need to solicit kindness, not break away from it. Doing something for someone else, like some people have this thought that, well, what do they want from me? Like, why are they doing this? What do I have to do in return?
What's the agenda?
Yeah, what's the agenda?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, they're literally like, kindness is so important. Share your heart, solicit the love, like solicit it, share it, so we can gather even more. To know that kindness is not a weakness, because what's happening in the world and the collective, and they're showing me a lot of yours, we're going to be pulled apart. They're going to try to pull us apart, and they can't, but they can if we choose that reality. So the more you allow yourself to connect with your emotions and connect with your body, but also be aware of, where do I need to forgive certain things, situations, places, people, me? Like looking at all of that, you can then be on the reality where there is this gathering, versus resisting and acting like it's not happening, or being mad at someone being kind to you. And they're like, the act of kindness will literally break people free. And I'm seeing all of these like fires, but they're like healing fires. I don't see like bombs and destruction fires. I see like, wow, we've taken back our freedom. We've taken back like everything that we've been chained to. Like, wow. And we're gathering together in this community through union and uniqueness because we all have something to share. And that's kindness, sharing our gifts, sharing our wisdom, sharing our wealth, sharing our health. Like, kindness is so important.
Yep. And when you were talking about soliciting that word, they were putting a word above it for me, and below it, they were putting sharing and receiving. Because soliciting, again, is the definition is that we're seeking something, right? We're seeking something. And it's like they're saying in this perspective, soliciting meaning, yes, sharing, but also receiving. It's that energy exchange. I keep hearing energy exchange. So we are not soliciting other energies or other connections for our egoic needs and desires. We are soliciting and exchanging energy for the betterment of the collective. That's why soliciting is coming in. It's not in a ego driven that you're trying to get something for your own good, right? It's for community. It's for that deeper connection. So it's literally like I'm seeing sharing above the word and also receiving. Receive that energy that you are also soliciting. It is okay to seek support and guidance to build this big vision. Whatever your big vision is, you can create it, we'll say, faster when you have a team, a tribe that also has the same intention.
And they're bringing in the word boundaries, because when we're trying to gather, when we're trying to collaborate and form unity and share kindness, it is important to also set boundaries for those that are not aligned with that, for those that do judge us or that don't want to be forgiven or that rather feel in their fear and they're using the word miserable. But those who are not ready to receive your kindness, those are where you got to put a boundary up and just forgive yourself. Forgive the others, the other people, so you don't have that anger attachment, that energy attachment there, and you're just asking, all right, source, just keep sending that person kindness or whatever, like, but it's setting boundaries so you're not expending your energy to try and have people fit in your community that are not aligned with it at this time. Doesn't mean that one day they won't be, but they're like very strong on boundaries, because the more you learn to set boundaries, the more you can forgive yourself for certain situations and things. They're also showing me a bunch of animals and plants. Communication with other beings outside of this human body is very, very important because they're super connected. So with plants in particular, they're bringing in, yes, they're connected to earth, but they're also the weather, everything. They're connected to everything, and they give us medicine. And the animals, they're just pure source. They're just unconditional love. So to start looking at everything in your external as a mirror of you, and to know that to gather your tribe, it's also to gather resources from plants and working with the elements, and maybe setting your boundary around, yeah, I'm not going to go hang out with those people. Instead, I'm going to go like walk in a garden or walk in nature. I'm going to go, volunteer a dog shelter. I'm going to go do something where I connect with something that doesn't speak, that can't judge me, but I can feel their energy. I can feel their energy and I can feel their love. And they're saying that they're specifically animals, well, and yes, plants, nature, trees, are a very intelligent species, and that we have a lot to learn from them about ourselves. And so that's another form of collaboration and finding unity, is seeing, well, what about me is in this plant? What about me is in this animal? Especially if you have your own pets. And this is something that Maria and I have been getting a lot lately of, that we're going to start tapping more into animal communication, because they are our mirrors. But they're really bringing in, specifically the middle of April, something with animals is going to be intense in the collective. I'm not sure what it is. But they're like, they keep showing me 16, April 15th and 16th. But also that could be on whatever dimension you're on. But there's some shift that's going to be happening where we need to be aware that we are one with everything. We are, and we have to show things kindness, even on the days that it feels hard to. And that's where boundaries come in. If you don't feel like you can show up some days, you don't have to. You don't have to. Set that boundary with yourself. Don't let anyone else feel your shit when you're in it. Just allow yourself to be in it and let it pass. And show yourself kindness that way.
The other word coming in while you were talking about boundaries was also acceptance. Acceptance of where you are at as an individual, acceptance where those around you are at, because that is what releases assumption. That when you are in an energy of acceptance, there is no real need to put up a boundary in a sense. It kind of comes like after setting boundaries, acceptance kind of just naturally comes in, is how they're showing it to me. It's like that energy of acceptance starts coming in. And so it's like, again, there is no separation, even though people may have different opinions, different ways of living, different perspectives. We can still coexist when we accept all of that. And when we feel accepted as a human, that allows us to actually grow and evolve and shift. It's quite the opposite of what our ego thinks and how our ego wants to change the world. But it's through the energy of acceptance that the process of evolution naturally takes place. And the other thing that was coming through and talking about animals, similar to what was coming through when we were talking about it earlier, but this neutrality, right? Animals bring in this sort of neutral energy. And in order to unify, to come together as community, we have to anchor into a neutrality in a sense, which I also feel is somewhat synonymous to acceptance. It's allowing self to be wherever self is at, and allowing all other selves to be where they're at.
And that comes in with the word permanence. Because they're showing me with what you're saying with acceptance is, and this word came out earlier when we were outside, but they're showing me permanence as they're showing me each letter as people. And coming from all different walks of life, and saying that nothing is permanent. Once you realize that you can put yourself in everybody else's shoes, you can have more empathy for them and accept them as they are. And you know that a thought and a belief and emotion is not something permanent. So to not take offense when people share something with you and that you assume that like they're projecting onto you, or that you did something wrong. It's a matter of just letting the person share so they can get it out. Because the more we keep our emotions and stuff trapped in, that's how they become permanent. It becomes a permanent belief. And when we allow people and we let them know, like, hey, sharing is accepted. Like, go ahead, share. And it releases the judgment and the expectations. And it allows people to expand more into their heart, because they feel like they're being finally heard and received without you doing anything. Because nothing is permanent. And if you want to move, if you want to go somewhere, if you want to try something, just do it. This is a perfect time to really step outside your comfort zones, to find your communion, to find your tribe, but also to find more of you and things that light you up. And know that if you try something and you don't like it, it's okay. It's just there, and you try something else. Like, rather than this judgment of beating yourself up, we're being called to release that and be more kind to ourselves, to try new things, and to know that our past is not is not in stone. We can shift our relationship to our past to bring us in and to bridge communities. We can use these as wisdom. We can use our events in life as wisdom rather than making it our just definitive story. It's like we are so much more than one trauma, two traumas, three traumas, four. We are so much more. And so to look at everything we've been through and use that as a superpower, use it as a way of sharing the wisdom and the kindness, so other people maybe, just maybe, don't have to follow that same path when you have the same trauma, right? So it's like, it's helping each other. It's helping each other because that's what we need to do rather than judging each other. And releasing the thought that things are permanent. Once you do it, it's permanent. It's like, no, it's not. It's not.
Mm.
It's your thought that it can be permanent. That's the only thing.
Mm.
And so when you give that thought that's making you maybe feel less than yourself, when you acknowledge that and you show it a little kindness, you're like, showing kindness can just be like, hey, I acknowledge you. Like that's a thought. I'm probably beating myself up there, but acknowledging it, saying it out loud, like maybe imagine blowing it away, calling in that purple light and releasing it. That's showing it kindness because nothing is permanent and we aren't either. We are always changing, always. We're shifting, and time is really going to be speeding up. That's why they're saying that we're going to be able to pull in more of our community from other dimensions because we're becoming more aligned, and that we can actually pull in what we want to be in this reality. But we have to be aware that one, that's a possibility, two, that nothing's permanent, three, that we need to drop the expectations, the assumptions, and four, we need to share kindness. We have to share kindness, otherwise that won't be brought to us. So you can't vibrate in kindness if you're not willing to receive it and to be it.
While you're saying permanence, the other word that I know we use, but that they're bringing in again is attachment. And that is all 3D mindset, because they're literally showing me 5D Earth and how free we all feel because nothing is permanent. That's the irony of it, is like they were, as you were talking, I'm literally seeing both realities of Earth, even though there's multiple realities within those realities, but we'll say the 3D dimension of Earth and the 5D. And in 5D, there's this sort of like auto manifestation. It's like, it's just like poof, it's there, poof, it's there. So literally nothing is permanent. Even our bodies, we shapeshift. I've been shown this before. We shapeshift into whatever we want. We're choosing it. We're creating it in that now moment. It's like immediate manifestation. But we cannot reach that if we are in attachment or in this limiting belief of that things have to be permanent or that they are permanent. That actually keeps us tied to 3D mindset, 3D matrix. When in 5D, I'm literally seeing us all like running around, like literally morphing from like a human into a butterfly into we're sitting in front of this house and then this appears. It's like nothing's permanent, but that's what we love in that reality. And here we still fear it. We are afraid in a sense of things not being permanent because of how it's been ingrained into us. But that is literally what keeps us in 3D, is attachment, permanence. It's like 5D, those energies literally don't exist. Like that's literally what they're showing me, is that those energies are not at all in us at all. To shift into 5D communities, like many of us, I feel, are here to do, we have to keep releasing that stuff from the past that is keeping us in the past. We keep reliving the past because we haven't broken free from those stories. So we keep in some way, shape, or form recreating that in our now and also in our future. If we're creating it in our now, it's going to become our future. So we cannot shift into 5D if we're still in energies of attachment and permanence and assumptions and judgment.
And that's where the word expansion comes in.
Yep.
You have to expand outside of the box that you've been living in and be curious about it. And they're big, as I say, outside the box, and being shown like humanity in this box, and we're all just like, poo, poo, pushing the cardboard roof off and like, oh, it's
Dan
just cardboard.
firmament.
Yeah. It's just cardboard. Like we can just get out of this. And then we're just like breaking down like all sides of this box. And some of us are like carving little things and coming out the bottom of the box. It's like working together to become whole, right? Like knowing that we're whole individually, but in order to have a external environment that feels whole, we have to come together and not judge each other on our life experiences, and really to feel into the energy of other people, to have that empathy for others, but also to have that boundary. If you know that person is pushing an initiative onto you that you don't like and that's not aligned with you, to have a boundary and say, hey, I'm not for that, rather than feeding into it for acceptance. It's like, nope, I'm gonna thank you for sharing that, but that's not for me. And so that's honoring yourself. So, and the more you show that, the more the people that also honor themselves come to you. And that's where that you can really learn how to expand more energetically, creativity, can't say that word, creatively. And also like with work, with anything you want to do, because you're allowing yourself to set a boundary and to expand into your energy of kindness. Yeah. That's all I have right now.
Amen.
Amen and aho, and so it is.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah. So the themes are
There's a lot of
really,
them, but they're all kind of intermingled into one sort of thing.
gathering, kindness, solicitation, attachment. It's all really, like you said, the same thing, forgiveness. But really looking at like, where in your life are you feeling like you're in a box and that you can't breathe, that you can't expand? And what's one thing you can maybe change that can push one of those box wall down, right? And step out. Show yourself kindness. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. Because when you start to find your tribe and your gathering, it shit doesn't make sense right away. But it's like, oh, this feels good. So we're really being called to be more in our energy field and not in this. That's why the crown chakra on the left side is like,
yeah.
Because it's like, it's time to feel into the body. It's time to see where your power, the solar plexus, is being given to, where you're not loving yourself and where you're not speaking your truth. So, yeah, pretty cool, pretty powerful.
She goes, so yeah.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
So we love you and thank you for listening if you still are. And so this goes until May 15th. So we love you.
Love you, and recognize your uniqueness, but also know that we are one. Because that's the other word that, as you were just talking, it was like we're stepping back into oneness, but not in the way that we think what oneness is. It's like oneness doesn't mean be like everybody else. It's literally what we're trying not to do anymore. It's honoring your uniqueness, honoring the uniqueness in everybody else, but recognizing we are one because we are all connected. So there you go. Love yous.
Love you. See you on the other side.
Whoop, whoop.